Protect your DNA. BioPQQ can promote formation of new mitochondria. Infowarsstore.com.
Well, some more news coming at you by way of the United States of Orwell. The Guardian is now saying correcting people's bad grammar is racist. That's right. This is the Guardian's Mona Chalabi. And you know what? I might not even be pronouncing her name right, but that doesn't matter according to her. She says correcting bad grammar is offensive and racist because white people are more likely to be concerned about good grammar. She is the newspaper's data editor, okay? And she's talking about how grammar rules were invented by wealthy white people and therefore non-whites should be free to ignore them without being criticized. Chalabi says, the people pointing out the mistakes are more likely to be older, wealthier, whiter, or just plain academic than the people they're treating with condescension. And all too often, it's a way to silence people. And that's particularly offensive when it's someone who might already be struggling to speak up. So rather than correct people's bad grammar, people should just shut up and listen to them. So, of course, like I said, this is the data editor. So who knows what kind of grammar faux pas are going to be coming out of the Guardian here soon. But the message is very clear. It's don't strive to improve yourself, accept mediocrity. This is, of course, completely demented. And this is another article coming out of the 17th Annual White Privilege Conference. So this is going to be taught at a university near you soon because this is a professional education consultant and teacher trainer who was arguing at the White Privilege Conference that just took place that great teachers must also be liberal activists. And she then described in great detail her goal for destroying the white supremacist nature of modern education. And here's what she says is white supremacy: rugged individualism, honest, hardworking, disciplined, rigorous, successful. This is the racial narrative of white. And so then the narrative of U.S. public education kind of falls in line with that. Individual assessment, meaning, getting good grades, showing up on time, using proper English, discipline. This is all white supremacy. So, these might be regarded as, traits necessary for success in the modern world. But she says that only white people are apparently capable of being on time, getting good grades, being disciplined. I think that is freaking racist. So basically you're saying that people of color do not possess these qualities. That is an absolutely racist notion. It's just like people who say, oh, well, you don't know what it's like to be black if you don't grow up in the hood, meaning people like Ben Carson can't be very successful multimillionaire neurosurgeons because you know what? He doesn't know what it's like to be black. That is freaking racist, and people need to stop with this. It's putting people in these little categories and trying to say everyone's equal, but yet boxing everyone in. It doesn't even make any sense to me, and it's so frustrating. And that's why we point this stuff out, because it is idiocracy, which, by the way, is celebrating its 10-year anniversary. Now, here's an article that I thought was pretty interesting coming out of courts. There is a clever algorithm. It's going to be generating millions of random ideas, and it's turning the table on patent trolls. Now, patent trolls, they'll basically just create some design, and it's very generalized. And that way, when someone comes along who actually wants to invent something, they will be forced to have to pay for these patent trolls. So this is an artist and engineer, Alexander Reben. He's written an algorithm that exploits this convoluted U.S. patent system in order to mess with these patent trolls. And it's called All Prior Art. And so what it does is algorithm posts ideas for inventions that'll prevent people from filing patents that they're not going to use. According to U.S. patent law, if there's prior art, in this case, anything that's previously published version of the idea, no one can file a patent on it. And he's posted 4.2 million such ideas and counting. So this is really good because we have people out there that are just filing these arbitrary patents and then blackmailing and exploiting the actual creators of this world who would do something positive with whatever it is they want to come along and invent. And I know someone who is very intensely protective of intellectual property rights, Prince, okay? Now, Prince, of course, he's very well known for all of his contract fights, copyright battles. Of course, he even changed his name to get back control of his music. He actually filed a patent for the Purple Axe, which is the custom-designed keytar, the keyboard and guitar that he used, that famous there was kind of in there with his symbol when he was the artist formerly known as. Well, Prince died today at the age of 57. Right now, it's kind of unknown, but people said that he had been battling with the flu. And so he collapsed, and they did find him in an elevator at Paisley Park at 10:07 a.m. Central Time. Now, Kit Daniels has an article up. Many conspiracy theories are already floating around about what could have caused the death of Prince. But our article is up. Did the chemtrail flu kill Prince as well as Merle Haggard? Both of them suddenly died of a mysterious illness, and they both had been suffering with the flu. Now, just like Merle Haggard, Prince also spoke out about chemtrails. He even wrote a song about it.
Tell me about Dreamer.
When I was a kid, I used to see these trails in the sky all the time, and a jet just went over. And then you started to see a whole bunch of them. And next thing you know, everybody in your neighborhood was fighting and arguing, and you didn't know why. Okay, and you really didn't know why. I mean, everybody was fighting. The first line of the song says, I was born on the same plantation in the United States of the red, white, and blue.
Joining me now is Kit Daniels to talk about this flu-like sickness that is causing a surge of respiratory illnesses across the country, as well as we're going to talk about some of the contributions Prince made to society.
Yeah, Leanne, just look at some of these headlines from the past couple of months. 8-year-old girl dies suddenly of flu complications this February 19th. She said this little girl woke up Sunday morning with a stomach bug. Family friends told her she tested positive for influenza when they took her to the hospital. But that afternoon, within just a few hours, they were performing CPR on her and she was gone. Same thing happened with this school teacher, I believe, in Kentucky. She had trouble breathing, and before they know it, within 24 hours, she was also gone. And then, Sun City Independent, at mid-season, cases are up 50% compared to last season's flu season. This gentleman was diagnosed with acute respiratory failure, just like Merle Haggard, and spent 4 days in the hospital. And the doctors wouldn't release him until his blood oxygen level was up to at least 93%. He was only at 84. So yeah, I mean, we always have flu seasons every year, but this is unprecedented in the fact that now we have all of a sudden this huge spike, and not only the prevalence is flu, but its severity as well.
Well, it's also a mystery flu that they're not able to diagnose right away.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing what I wrote about today about the chemtrail flu. It's like all of a sudden you see all these chemtrails being sprayed everywhere. Mm-hmm. You have all these contrails that just last for hours up in the sky. And then all of a sudden you see all this widespread flu pandemic going around the country. And it's like, what's really going on here?
Right.
I mean, maybe it's not chemtrails, but it's at least worth posing the question. What really strikes me about his medical emergency was it was just like these other two cases, these 3 cases I just talked about. It was all of a sudden, and they rushed him to the hospital, and then he seemed fine for a while, but then they find him dead in an elevator.
Right. It
was just like these flu cases. You have this sudden surge in these flu-like symptoms, and all before you know it, the victim's gone. Mm. So what's really going on here? I mean, it's worth at least investigating, trying to find out what's really going on, like we had with the Flint water crisis. I mean, I'm sure like a couple of years ago, people would have been, if you posed the question, maybe the government's doing something with the water supply they're not supposed to be doing, or there's incompetence, they'd laugh at you as a conspiracy theorist. So it's like this weird thing where you're not allowed to pose questions, even though the questions you pose might lead to the actual answer.
Right. Yeah. And don't worry about what you can actually see with your eyes, which of course is what Prince was talking about in the clip we just played, is that he could see them with his own eyes, and then he would see the actual effects that it was having on the people in his neighborhood. So very interesting there.
Yeah. And moving on to Drudge, the contributions he made in his life. I read some headlines on Drudge this afternoon, and one of the things that really struck out with me the most about Prince was he spent his whole life fighting for control over his music. Now, some of his techniques weren't really stuff I agree with. He was trying to push copyright claims on YouTube. At one point, he put a copyright claim on a mother because she used like a 29-second clip of his song while his baby was like dancing to it. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's still, it's been like 10 years ago, it's still circulating.
Well, they actually just decided earlier this year or late last year that finally, it took about 10 years.
So yeah, it's easy to kind of see Prince as this abuser in the situation, but once you look a little bit more deeper into it, you see that this is a man who's always been trying to fight control for his music, not just by people bootlegging his music, but also by the music industry executives and the record companies and whatnot. He said in this tweet once that if you don't own your masters, meaning your master tapes, then the masters own you.
Right.
And he also mentioned this in a interview, that late night interview that he, a couple of years back, that he said he was talking about control over your creation, about how you need to, if you create something, you really need to have control over it. And, you know, one thing he really brought out in the interview that really resonated with me was the fact that he said that we need to have this discussion now before we start talking about God and like the DNA. Because now what we see is these companies, they're trying to patent the human.
Right. He talked about they're going to want to
Yeah.
patent your DNA.
Yeah,
and you've got
exactly.
to own yourself.
Yeah.
Right.
So it's like, what really struck out to me was his argument about controlling his master tapes. It leads into what we see now with the TPP and all these other multinational corporations trying to use copyright to control you and your life work.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and that's something that we're definitely going to start seeing as well, is they're using your DNA to patent certain cancer treatments and things like that. So they are, and there again, that was Prince way before his time. They're warning everyone about ownership. Well, thank you very much, Kit.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Well, here's the main argument for just why a border wall will not work. Yeah, you might stop some people from coming in or out, but you're not going to stop the cartel from digging tunnels. Now, federal agents have seized a ton of cocaine and 7 tons of marijuana. It was smuggled through a secret tunnel stretching a half-mile beneath the U.S.-Mexico border. It's the longest one yet unearthed in California. It's 870 yards long. The northern end emerges in a narrow industrial expanse. It's excavated 46 feet beneath the surface of the earth. It ran from the bottom of an elevator shaft that was built into a house in Tijuana all the way to a hole in the ground on the U.S. side that was enclosed with a fenced-in lot set up as a pallet business. The hole was concealed under a trailer-sized trash dumpster. And so what the smugglers would do is they put the trash in the dumpster and then haul the dumpster to another location. So the wall is not going to work. But now we have someone coming up with a different way of dealing with the narcos. This is a hero Mexican Marine. He's hunting down drug cartels and humiliating them.
When you talk about violence in Mexico, you often think of names like El Chapo, places like Sinaloa, but now there are new areas and players involved. And the person I'm going to be talking about today is not even a drug cartel kingpin at all. He is a vigilante out there combating the cartels. He goes by the name of Senor Thor. And when he catches his prey, he makes them dress in women's clothing to dehumanize them, demoralize them. In some cases, he makes them engage with one another. During one raid, he stole the ashes of a feared drug lord's deceased father. That's pretty gutsy. His nemesis, known as El Chive, responded by accusing him of corruption, which I think is rather laughable for a drug kingpin to accuse anybody of corruption. But I guess that's his story, and he's sticking to it. They're saying that El Thor is allegedly stealing money from the cartels, but I'm saying if you steal money from a thief, is it really stealing in the first place? But I guess everybody has their own moral sanctions to go by. And they're saying that Senor Thor is a former Marine, retired Marine, who's in Mexico trying to clean up the streets because he sees the problems that are lying in law enforcement. And I am sure there are good people in law enforcement out there who want to get rid of the cartels, but you have more than a few who are actually working for the cartel. So he's just cutting through the middleman and going after the guys himself. Very similar to a character like the Punisher, in my point of view. And he's been pretty effective. He's knocked down some big hitters out there, but he still has a lot more to go. And one of the groups that he's affecting is Los Zetas. And if you guys recall, we've been talking about Los Zetas for some time. I actually have an article here, Paul Joseph Watson, dated back in 2011, when we saw that a Los Zetas kingpin was saying that they bought guns directly from the United States government. Now, I'm sure many people will dismiss this. They say, well, he's a kingpin. We can't trust anything he says. Well, we do know the ATF did give guns to Mexican drug cartels, so at least hear what the guy has to say. Now, whether or not it was directly related to Operation Fast and Furious, I can believe that they were sold weapons by the United States government, because you think about the Iran-Contra scandal, selling guns to people overseas, and on and on and on. selling guns to our enemies or just bad people in general is not something new for the United States government. They do it all the time. They've done it throughout history. Multiple presidents, administrations, right, left, whatever, they go about this. And this reminds me of films like Sicario, documentaries like Cartel Land, where the people in Mexico actually take it upon themselves to fight back. And some people say they're vigilantes, they're dangerous. Regardless, even if that is true, you have to take into account the fact that what's being done in Mexico is not doing enough to stop the problem there. You see routinely, just like you saw in the movie Sicario, they were killing people, hanging them from the rafters under bridges. They do that in real life. Oftentimes, those victims are journalists. We've seen multiple reports about good politicians who want to root out the cartels ending up dead, people on payrolls, as I already mentioned. So it is a very big and steady problem out there, so something has to be done. Good, bad, or indifferent, he is making enough change to get his name out there. So Senior Thor, we'll see how you continue, and possibly you'll have a long career. You can find more reports on Infowars.com.
A lot of people ask me, what is the most important area of Infowars that runs the whole operation that is having such a big effect against the globalists? And I've said it over and over again, it is you, the listeners and the viewers, that send us the intel, the news tips, that support the broadcast, that spread the word. You are 90% of the operation or more. You don't stand beside us, you stand at the heart of Infowars. When I talk about the people at Infowars, from customer service, the shipping department, being just as important as our anchors, our researchers, our investigative journalists, and myself, it's absolutely true. Without this team that we've built over the last 20 plus years, we wouldn't be able to do any of what we've been doing. And that's what's so exciting, because we finally built up to a point where we now have the launch pad. Introducing AutoShip for InfoWarsLife.com, a new way to save time and money when you stock up on InfoWarsStore.com products. Again, ladies and gentlemen, when products are sold out, you're unable to get them, sometimes for months, but we hold back the products for people that have already signed up for AutoShip. When you choose AutoShip before checkout on your order at InfoWarsStore.com, we'll give you 10% off and give you guaranteed delivery of out-of-stock products that are on your AutoShip list. Plus, we're giving you free shipping on all orders above $50. Listeners have been requesting this for years because it's so easy to forget to reorder the products when you need them each month. Now it's finally here. AutoShip at InfoWarsStore.com and InfoWarsLife.com. It's easy. Go to InfoWarsStore.com, select your favorite product, click on the AutoShip, and choose how often you want us to send you another order. As you know, I coined the term 360 win, and with the new AutoShip feature at InfoWarsLife.com, it's a sure win. You add to that free shipping on orders of $50, it is a can't lose. Visit InfoWarsStore.com and save 10% off on your next InfoWars Life order by selecting AutoShip at checkout, and get free shipping on all orders above $50. That's InfoWarsStore.com, or call toll-free 888-253-3139.